Hi everyone and welcome back to Reddit Confessions. Today's story is not just about betrayal. It's about how one tiny detail revealed everything. Buckle up. I saw her ring on the bathroom counter before I even saw her. It was just sitting there, gold band, modest stone, right next to a half-used bottle of dry shampoo and the same mascara she'd been using for years. I stood there for a moment, like it was a piece of evidence, like it had a pulse. She called out from downstairs. "Do you know where my keys are?" I didn't answer. I was still staring at that ring. Then came the sound of heels, quick and sharp against the tile. Tessa appeared in the hallway mirror, adjusting one of her earrings. She looked rehearsed, like someone heading into an audition. "There they are," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, scooping the keys off the kitchen hook behind me. She breezed past, and I followed her with my eyes but not my feet. My mouth opened, but the words stuck like dust in my throat. No ring. Still, I tried. I really tried. "You forgot this," I said, holding it up between two fingers like it was fragile. "Oh, right," she replied, barely glancing at it. "I took it off while moisturizing. I'll grab it later." She didn't. She gave me a kiss on the cheek, not the lips, and told me not to wait up. Then she disappeared into the night, all perfume and purpose, leaving her marriage behind on the bathroom counter. That was last Friday. That same night, I got an email, anonymous sender, no subject, no message body. Just a single attachment. I clicked it, assuming spam or worse. But what opened was a low-resolution photo of her at some kind of rooftop venue. Glass in hand, hair down, laughing with someone I'd never seen before. His hand was on her lower back. She wasn't wearing her ring. I told myself not to panic. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was a team dinner. Maybe that man was just some HR guy with boundary issues. Maybe I was spiraling again. But then, around 1:13 a.m., she walked in, quietly, like someone returning to the scene of a crime. She dropped her heels by the door and tiptoed upstairs. I stayed in the dark, wide awake on the living room couch, pretending to sleep. She never checked on me. She didn't go back for the ring either. And the next morning, she acted like everything was fine, until I opened her work laptop while she was in the shower and found the calendar invite. It wasn't a company party. There was no official event, no dinner, no client celebration, no HR guy. Just a block on her calendar titled, "Off-site engagement, private RSVP only, no phones." That was when I knew, not just that she had lied, but that whatever she'd done that night wasn't something she could undo. I sat there in the kitchen the next morning with a mug of coffee I didn't remember pouring, staring at that wedding ring like it might whisper the truth if I held it long enough. Tessa hummed in the bathroom, steam curling out through the half-closed door as if nothing had happened. She had the audacity to hum. She walked in wearing one of my old t-shirts, acting like she belonged in that morning. "You're up early," she said, pouring herself a glass of almond milk like she hadn't just blown a crater through the foundation of our marriage. I didn't respond right away. My eyes were fixed on the counter where the ring had sat. Now it was gone. She'd taken it sometime between her late return and sunrise, probably without a word, hoping I wouldn't notice she never wore it out. I took a breath and kept my voice low. "How was the party?" She glanced up for just a second too long before answering, like she had to remember the version she rehearsed. "Oh, fun. Honestly, kind of boring. Speeches. Why, you know how those things are." I nodded slowly, staring into my coffee. "Weird. Thought you said it was a casual hangout with your team." There it was, the brief flicker of panic behind her eyes, before she tilted her head and forced a confused smile. "Did I? Maybe I said that wrong. It was last minute. A client thing, sort of. You know how corporate lingo gets messy." Sure, I thought. But client thing doesn't usually come with a calendar block that says no phones. I didn't say that out loud. I didn't ask about the mystery man in the photo, or the fact that her location was turned off all night, or that her phone rang at 3:04 a.m. from a number with no contact name, just two initials, M.H. Instead, I asked her if she wanted scrambled eggs. She smiled and said, Sure. Then kissed the top of my head like she was rewarding a loyal dog. I should have asked then. I should have screamed or demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I cracked eggs into a pan with trembling hands, pretending I couldn't hear the sound of my heart ripping in half beneath my ribs. Later that day, when she went out to get groceries, I checked the trash can. Call it what you want. Paranoia, desperation, a breakdown, but I needed something to tell me I wasn't crazy. And I found it. A small, square envelope. Thick cardstock. Black foil lettering that read, "Exclusive access, Suite 5, 10/7:30 p.m. dress to impress." There was no company logo. No names. Just that and a tiny note scribbled on the back in unfamiliar handwriting. No rings. No rules. Just tonight. I sat down on the floor. Not because I was shocked, but because I wasn't. Somehow, deep down, I had known. Known the moment she walked out with that unnatural smile. Known the moment she forgot something she never took off. Known when she hugged me like a coworker and left without looking back. I thought about texting her, confronting her, demanding to know who MH was, but I didn't. Instead, I waited. I waited for the lies to pile high enough that even she couldn't balance on them anymore. And believe me, they were coming. Because 2 days later, I received a letter in the mail. Not addressed to me, not even to her. Just our address, no names, no return. Inside was a single photograph. And this time it was crystal clear. Her, in that same green dress, sitting on the lap of a man in a suit, laughing, mouth open, hand on his chest. And on the back of the photo, in the same handwriting as the card. She didn't forget. She chose. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't touch her the next morning. I didn't speak during dinner. And yet, somehow she never noticed. Or worse, she did. And she didn't care. She was in the shower when I finally gave in and touched her phone. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. Because the unanswered questions were no longer just thoughts. They were physical things now. They lived in my chest, pressing on my lungs, strangling my sleep. I had always believed snooping was wrong. But when someone changes the rules without telling you, what exactly are you supposed to play by? Her phone was face down on the nightstand. I picked it up with the kind of care you'd use for something sacred or something rigged to explode. She never used a password with me before. But now, for digits stood between me and whatever she didn't want me to see. I tried her birthday. Nope. Tried our anniversary. Still no. And then I tried the last 4 digits of our old apartment number, the one we lived in before we got married, back when things still felt like ours. It opened. She must have forgotten she once told me that number meant good luck. What I found wasn't anything flashy. No long threads of sexting. No explicit photos. No romantic contact names with heart emojis. Just a message. From a number labeled MHHR, which was laughable, considering the content. I pressed play and my stomach turned. "Hey, I know you said no messages after, but I just wanted to say you looked unreal last night. The way you laughed, the way you moved, the way you didn't wear that ring. It felt different. I haven't stopped thinking about it. Let's not make this a one-time thing, Tessa. Please." There was a pause. Then the voicemail ended. I didn't realize I was shaking until the phone nearly slipped from my hand. She came out of the bathroom moments later, wrapped in a towel, face fresh and glowing from the steam, and asked me if I wanted pancakes or something lighter. I didn't answer. I just handed her the phone, unlocked, opened to the voicemail tab. Her screen paused on that man's message. She blinked once, twice. Then, without reacting, she walked over to the dresser, put the phone down and said, "I told him not to call me." Like that erased everything. Like the message wasn't real just because it wasn't invited. I stared at her, waiting for more, for a tear, an apology, a reason. But she just wrapped the towel tighter and added, "It was stupid. It didn't mean anything. I didn't even respond." That's when I realized something that hurt even more than the lie. She was done hiding. Done pretending to be the version of herself I thought I married. This wasn't some drunken accident. This was deliberate, calculated, clean. "I need air," I said, grabbing my jacket. She didn't stop me. She didn't ask where I was going. She didn't chase. Outside, the cold air bit into my lungs, but I didn't care. I walked aimlessly, ending up at the gas station we used to stop at after movie nights, back when we still held hands just because. I bought a bottle of water I didn't need, just to keep my hands busy. The clerk nodded at me like I was invisible. I sat in my car for 2 hours before going home. When I got back, she was already asleep, or pretending to be. The next day, she acted like we hadn't just heard a man beg to see her again, like she hadn't said a single word about the photo, the invitation, the missing ring. Instead, she asked me if I'd seen her navy blazer because she had a pitch to run through. That was when I knew. She had moved on mentally. She thought I wouldn't. But the part she didn't understand is that silence isn't surrender. It's planning. Because if she was going to pretend our marriage was still intact just to maintain appearances, then so could I. Only difference? Mine had a deadline, and that deadline was getting closer than she realized. There's a strange thing that happens when you stop trusting someone you live with. You don't just doubt them, you start doubting everything else too. Time feels weird. Conversations become riddles. Every noise becomes a signal you weren't trained to hear. I started watching Tessa in ways I never had before. Not as my wife, not as my partner, but as someone I didn't know. Someone I was trying to catch. That word felt ugly in my mouth, but I couldn't shake it. She wasn't being subtle anymore. And maybe that was the part that hurt the most. Her phone, once glued to her side like it was an organ, now lay face down in odd places around the house. Screen locked but vibrating from messages she'd never acknowledge. She'd disappear into the guest bathroom for 20-minute stretches. She'd take calls in the car, claiming poor signal, and return with new lip gloss and receipts for things I never saw her wear. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I did what she never expected me to do. I started recording. It felt gross, like I was betraying a version of myself I used to be proud of. But I had nothing else. No one to talk to. Not without sounding crazy or paranoid or like the kind of guy who can't satisfy his wife. So I set up a simple voice-activated recorder in the living room, hidden behind a stack of old magazines we never read. The irony wasn't lost on me. We were living in a space full of things we pretended to use. That same night, she told me she'd be working late. Last-minute presentation edits, she said, already grabbing her tote and slipping on heels she usually reserved for galas. Don't wait up. I might crash at Olivia's if it runs too long. Olivia, her coworker, had recently moved across town. I remembered because Tessa complained it added 30 minutes to any commute. And now she was conveniently sleeping there? I nodded like I believed her. But something inside me had gone quiet. Not calm, just still. Like the eye of something spinning faster than either of us could stop. The next morning, I played the recording. She had been gone for 6 hours. For the first hour, silence. Then the creak of the front door opening. 2 voices. Tessa's, light, playful, buzzing from wine or adrenaline. And a male voice, lower, cocky, careless. It wasn't one I recognized. At one point, I heard the pop of a cork, the clink of glasses. Then her laugh. That high, open-mouthed laugh she hadn't used with me in over a year. The kind of laugh that breaks something if you hear it in the wrong context. I've never done this here before, she said. You said he's clueless, the man replied, completely unbothered. Yeah, she answered. He still leaves love notes in my lunch like we're in high school. I stopped the recording there. I don't remember breathing. I just remember sitting on the edge of the couch, knees locked, palms sweating, thinking about how I used to fold tiny sticky notes into her sandwich bags when she worked overtime. I thought it mattered. She thought it was pathetic. The worst part? It wasn't even rage I felt. It was embarrassment. She was mocking the very last parts of me that still believed in us. The next day, I sent a text to Olivia from a fake number. Just a harmless message pretending to be a survey for company-wide HR feedback. Her reply came 5 minutes later. Sorry, I don't work there anymore. Left in July. It was October. Tessa had been using her as a ghost for months. I didn't eat that day. I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. Instead, I opened our shared Dropbox folder, the one we used to plan vacations, budget for new furniture, save recipes we never tried. I clicked into the miscellaneous subfolder. The last modified file was from 2 weeks ago. A spreadsheet. No title. Just numbers. I opened it, and what I saw made my skin crawl. Hotel names. Room numbers. Dates. 2 nights before the company party. Was listed in bold red. Suite 510 check-in confirmed. Next to it, in the adjacent column, the initials, MH. I finally knew who he was. But the file didn't end there. The final row? The future date. 2 weeks out. Same hotel. Same suite. But this time, her name was in both columns. And there was a note. No more hiding. Officially yours. That's when I realized it wasn't just about betrayal. It was about replacement. She wasn't cheating for fun. She was transitioning. And I had been gently shuffled out of the frame, one lie at a time. By the time the next Friday came around, I had already packed 2 small boxes of my things. The kinds of things she wouldn't notice missing. A few shirts. A pair of running shoes I hadn't used in over a year. Some personal documents. And the one framed photo of my mother and me she'd always called a bit depressing. I wrapped it in a sweater and tucked it away like a stolen artifact. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. Not yet. But I knew I was preparing. There was a part of me, quiet, exhausted, and strangely calm, that had begun letting go. That evening, she came home humming. Not because of joy, no, that wasn't the kind of tune she used anymore. It was her "Don't Ask Me Anything" hum. Light, distracted, self-contained. She breezed through the front door with a bag of takeout and 2 bottles of sparkling water, tossing her keys onto the counter like a sitcom character returning from a harmless day at the office. "I brought Thai," she said with a grin that didn't match her eyes. Thought it might be nice to have a normal night. I didn't ask why she suddenly wanted normal. I didn't ask why her lipstick was a color she never wore for me. I didn't ask why there was a small red crease on her shoulder that looked like it came from an expensive car seatbelt, and we only owned 1 car. I simply said, "Thanks," and helped her plate the food. We sat across from each other at the dining table like 2 people waiting out a storm in different houses. She made small talk, mentioned something about a coworker's baby shower. I nodded and pretended to be present while my fingers, hidden beneath the table, tapped against my thigh in a rhythm I hadn't noticed before. She asked if I wanted to watch something after dinner. I said sure. She offered one of those predictable true crime documentaries she loved. Something about a double life, a missing phone, a suspicious spouse. She laughed when the woman in the show found her partner's burner phone and said, "Seriously? Who still uses those?" And I just sat there, wondering how someone could be so casually cruel without ever raising their voice. Around 10 p.m., she said she was exhausted and headed to bed early. I stayed up, alone, with the screen still glowing, but I didn't really watch. I replayed the audio file again, the one I'd saved to a hidden cloud folder under an old project name. Her voice whispering to someone else, telling him how I never noticed anything, laughing like she used to, but not for me. Then I checked the hotel's website. Suite 510 was available for early check-in the following Thursday. The same date listed in her spreadsheet. The last line in her booking confirmation had chilled me the first time, but now I stared at it like it belonged to someone else. No turning back now. It was booked under her name. His initials were in the comments section again. But the billing? It was under our joint credit card. She hadn't even bothered to hide the transaction. I took a screenshot and saved it with the others. And that's when I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I wrote her a letter. Not dramatic. Not angry. Just a few honest sentences. "If you've already replaced me, then I won't fight to be kept as your backup plan. You made your choices. I'm finally making mine. I hope he knows the version of you I once loved, not the one who lies this easily." I sealed it in an envelope, wrote her name on it, and tucked it under the pillow on her side of the bed. The next morning, I pretended everything was normal. We ate toast and eggs like we always did. She laughed at something on her phone. I smiled back, and in my mind, I had already left. I was no longer looking for an explanation. I wasn't hoping for an apology. I just needed her to find that letter and realize I'd known the truth before she thought she had one. She found the letter the next morning. I knew the moment it happened. Not because she said anything. She didn't. But something in the air changed. I was in the kitchen pouring coffee when I heard the faintest sound from upstairs. Not footsteps, not movement, but stillness. It was the kind of stillness that screamed. When she finally came down, her eyes were just slightly red, like she had blinked too long or sat in front of the mirror waiting for a reaction that never came. She greeted me like usual. "Morning," she said softly, almost too softly, but she didn't touch me, didn't pour herself a mug, didn't sit down. She hovered. I waited. She finally said, "I found your note." That was all. No breakdown, no yelling, just a hollow admission like I had left her a grocery list instead of the words I'd written from a pit she helped dig. I nodded and replied, "I figured you would." Another pause. Her eyes searched mine, looking for something. Fear? Anger? A bluff she could challenge? But I wasn't offering any of those things. I offered silence. "I don't know what you think is going on," she started, voice wavering with rehearsed innocence. "But you're twisting things. You always overanalyze." That line nearly broke me. You always overanalyze. The same thing she used to say when I'd bring her surprise flowers and she'd roll her eyes because she'd had a bad day. The same phrase she'd throw at me when I asked if she was pulling away emotionally and she wanted me to shut up without outright lying. You always overanalyze. This wasn't a defense. It was gaslighting wrapped in a familiar bow. Still, I kept my tone even. "You made a reservation. Suite 510. Thursday. It's already billed to our card." She blinked. She didn't know I had seen that part. That tiny flinch in her throat gave it away. "I was going to cancel it," she said too quickly. "But you didn't." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Her hand tightened on the back of the dining chair. "Look," she exhaled. "I don't want to fight. This, whatever this is, it's not what you think." "You mean it's not real?" I asked. "The hotel isn't real? The voicemail isn't real? The spreadsheet, the name, the timestamp, the initials, those aren't real?" She didn't respond. Instead, she turned and walked out of the kitchen. That day, she didn't go to work. She stayed home, making noise in every room, aggressively cleaning, loudly organizing drawers, typing something on her laptop in bursts of passive-aggressive energy. I stayed out of her way. I watched her spiral while pretending to mind my business. Around 3 p.m., her phone lit up next to her. She grabbed it like a reflex, turned away slightly, and started typing. I didn't even have to look to know who it was. By 3:15, she grabbed her coat and announced, "I'm going for a walk. Not do you want to come? Not I need some air." Just a statement, one more silent goodbye in the form of an everyday phrase. She was gone for over an hour. I used that time to finish preparing. I moved the packed boxes into my car, deleted myself from the shared streaming accounts, logged out of the grocery rewards app we both used. These things sound small, but they're intimate, tiny threads that keep you bound to someone who doesn't think twice before untying you in the dark. When she came back, I was already in the middle of printing a stack of papers in the office. She glanced at them, confused. "What's all that?" I didn't look up. "Documents." "For what?" "For closing accounts." Her lips parted again, but no sound came out. That night, we didn't eat together. She microwaved something and took it upstairs. I stayed in the living room and listened to the low hum of her pacing, the squeak of the bed frame, the occasional voice on a call she thought I couldn't hear. She didn't say goodnight. I didn't either. And when I checked her phone after she fell asleep, yes, again, I checked. I saw the message I'd been expecting but still wasn't ready to read. From MH. "I'll be waiting. Room's already set. All we need is you." Underneath it, a reply. "I think he knows, but I'm done pretending." No apology. No guilt. Just certainty. Like I had been the placeholder all along. I stared at the message for 5 full minutes before putting her phone back on the charger. She was sound asleep when I left the room. and I didn't close the door behind me. I left at 4:38 a.m., not because it was symbolic or poetic. It was just the hour I realized I had no more questions left to ask. No more doubts to circle. Nothing left to hear. I watched the sky shift from black to bruised blue while I sat in the car with the engine off, the heater on low, staring at the house I used to believe was ours. She was still sleeping. Peacefully, I imagine. Or maybe not. Maybe even her dreams were full of running in circles, packing invisible bags and checking into rooms that weren't hers. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't scribble a final note or pack the rest of my things. I didn't take revenge. I didn't shout. I just drove. I didn't even know where at first. The highway was empty. No destination. Just motion. By 6:12 a.m., I was parked outside my older cousin's house 2 towns away. I hadn't spoken to him in a year. I texted him, "I'm not okay. Can I crash for a few days?" He replied within 5 minutes. "Doors unlocked. Come in." No questions. No pity. Just shelter. That first morning was strange. I kept checking my phone, expecting a flood of missed calls or panic texts. Nothing. For hours. And then, just after noon, one message. From her. "Where are you?" That was it. No, "Are you okay?" No, "Come back." No, "Let's talk." Just, "Where are you?" I didn't respond. An hour later, I saw the closet. "Are you trying to prove something?" Again, I said nothing. At 3:45 p.m., she called. I watched the screen light up, vibrating in my hand. Her name still showed as Tessa Ring, the little ring emoji still there like some joke I forgot to delete. I didn't answer. 2 minutes later, she tried again. Then again. By the 4th call, I turned the phone off. And for the first time in weeks, I slept. Not deeply, not peacefully, but without the weight of pretending. When I woke up, my cousin had left a blanket folded at the foot of the couch and a note. "Didn't know what kind of pizza you still like. Got both kinds. You're safe here." I stared at that line, "You're safe here," and something in my throat cracked open. Not because of what I'd lost, but because of what I'd allowed. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. 7 voicemails. 5 messages. And then one I didn't expect. A photo. It was our bed. Stripped down. Mattress bare. The walls around it blank. My side of the closet wide open. Her caption. "So this is it? After everything?" Everything. As if she hadn't set fire to all of it and handed me the matches just to blame me for the smoke. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened a new file on my phone and began writing down every account we shared. Every password she'd ever used. Every subscription, every login, every detail she never thought I noticed. I started the process of removing myself. Not from just the house, but from the version of reality she thought she could trap me in forever. Around 8 p.m. that night, she called again. I answered. Not to forgive. Not to talk. But to listen. The line opened with silence. Then her voice, tight, fragile, fake calm. "You're really not coming back?" I stayed quiet. Then she said something that didn't sound like her at all. Something small, almost childish. "I didn't think you'd actually leave." And there it was. The truth behind the smirk. The reason she stopped hiding it. Because she thought I was too spineless to walk away. She mistook silence for weakness. She thought quiet meant blind. But what she didn't know was that I wasn't the same person who left love notes in her lunchbox. That version of me, he didn't disappear. He just went somewhere she could never find again. And he wasn't coming back. The days after I left felt unreal. Not like a movie, not even like a nightmare. Just empty. A stillness I hadn't felt in years. No second-guessing. No lies to unpack. No walking on floors I'd once shared with someone I couldn't trust. I wasn't suddenly healed. I wasn't happy exactly. But I was free. I spent the first week sleeping more than I expected. Eating less than I should have. I ignored most calls. Blocked a few numbers. Tessa eventually stopped trying. The messages slowed, then stopped altogether. There was no grand apology. No airport run. No tears at my doorstep. Just the sound of silence filling the cracks she'd left behind. But you know what was strange? I didn't miss her. I missed the version of myself I used to be around her, the one who believed she was all in, the man who thought love could be enough, who didn't keep receipts in a hidden folder or track booking confirmations on a spreadsheet like they were clues in a case no one else was solving. That man is gone, but someone else has taken his place. Someone quieter, smarter, still soft, but finally self-protective. I moved into a small rental a few weeks later. Nothing special. Beige walls, creaky floors, a view of the alley behind a diner. But I chose it. Every piece of furniture in it I brought in myself. Every night I sleep there. I know there's no one lying beside me with two faces. The wedding ring? I didn't pawn it. I buried it. In a park we used to walk through on Sundays. I dug 6 inches into the cold earth beneath a maple tree, placed the ring in a small wooden box, and left it there. Not as bitterness, not as revenge, as closure. I realized something important in all this. Closure doesn't come when they admit the truth. It comes when you stop needing them to. 1 month later, I got an email from an old friend I hadn't spoken to since college. He heard through someone else that I'd gone dark. He asked if I was okay. I told him the short version. He said something that made me smile for the first time in weeks. You didn't lose her. You released her. That's different. And he was right. Tessa didn't belong to me, not in the way I thought. Maybe she never did. She belonged to chaos, to shiny rooms and secret calendars, to men who made promises at check-in counters and disappeared before checkout. She didn't ruin me. She just revealed herself. And I didn't stay. That's what matters. I didn't stay. And if you're listening to this, if you've ever found yourself staring at someone who claims to love you while quietly disassembling the life you built together, I want you to hear this. You are allowed to leave. Even if they didn't hit you. Even if they say they just made a mistake. Even if you still love them. You're allowed to walk away from people who teach you how to live without your own peace. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm just done giving her the power to narrate my story. This time, the words are mine. Thanks for watching this episode of Reddit Confessions. If you made it to the end, we'd love to hear from you. What part of this story stood out the most to you? Have you ever experienced something similar? A quiet betrayal? A turning point? Or a moment when you finally walked away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your stories might help someone else find the courage to rewrite their own. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow the channel for more true stories every week. We'll see you in the next one. Stay strong.